Hi, Chuck Buggers, as we say at our workshop. My name is John Eggert. I'm a member of the Albuquerque Bonsai Club, and this is coming from Socorro, New Mexico, about an hour south of Albuquerque. I started to do bonsai in one form or another when I was either 6 or 7 years old. There was a bonsai nursery in Temple City, California, which was south of Pasadena some. And that nursery was Komai Bonsai Nursery, run by Con Komai. And one day I asked Con for a job, a part-time job. I spent about 11 years on and off with Con. I also got a chance to go to Japan for most of a year. And so I've been pretty well schooled. Con Komai is my sensei, if you'll give me that little bit of woo-woo. American bonsai is in good hands training-wise, and I think it has improved substantially. If you're new and you want to go online and see good bonsai demonstrations, you will not go wrong with three guys. One is Ryan Neal, one is Bjorn Bjorholm, and the other is Graham Potter in the UK. I love that guy. But if you'll start with those guys, and if you can find a club to join it. If you get a teacher, do it. I teach that workshop at the Albuquerque Club, and they call me the succulent sensei there, but which is of course a joke, and they know it. But at least I have that experience that I can impart to them. And by the way, another tangent, but a good one. If you have any, and I hear this thing is out of print and right away getting expensive. I lost the dust jacket to this thing, but I'll show you the cover, the picture that I think that's on the cover. This is, we owe a debt of gratitude to Bill Valavanis for working this thing into English and having it printed. It's called Forest Rock Planting and Ezo Spruce Bonsai, and it's really a translation and a modernization of Saburo Kato's old works on this. Let's see if I can find the picture that's on the cover so you'll recognize it. I don't know if you can see this one right here. If you have any inclination at all to do forest plantings, I mean, I paid $20 I think for this from somewhere, and it's a genuine bargain. Another nice book for you people of Chinese mind is this is a new book. I'm not getting paid for any of these book endorsements either. I wish I was, but I'm not. This is a new book, $20, $18.95 at Amazon, by a guy named Zhao, who in the United States I think he calls himself Brook Zhao. I've never met him or seen him, but he's a hell of a talented guy, and this is a really interesting book. This has a lot of good stuff in it for anybody, and particularly if you like Penjing Chinese style bonsai or older than Japanese bonsai. A lot looser, a lot more. What would you say? Whimsical, I guess would be a word for it. There's a lot more tolerance for interesting and kind of weird stuff. My general theory of bonsai, the first thing any new person should do is get their space in good order. If you don't have a good place for your trees that shelters them from whatever bad thing you might happen to have, which for us is hot sun and no humidity, you're never gonna get going. So get yourself a place, get yourself a nice bench, which my friend Frank made me a bench back there, wooden bench, nothing fancy. Sit out there and get yourself a turntable and get out there, put yourself a little tree of some kind on your turntable, and just enter the frame of reference of those trees. Don't drag them into your frame of reference. You go into theirs, and pretty soon those frames of reference will coalesce. And as they say in Zen, you won't know if you're working on your tree or your tree is working on you. And it's kind of a ritualistic behavior, really ceremony behavior. I think that's really what bonsai ought to be. Ginkgos. Um, when you're working with them, they are laughing at you to some extent. You can feel that attitude when you are working with them. They've been around for most of 200 million years, minimum of 170 million years, and they were known as fossils before they were known as living trees. If you're wondering how tough ginkgos are, there are the famous 6 Hiroshima ginkgos which survived the bomb. One of them I think only about a half a mile from ground zero. And it scorched them and burned them and everything else. And sure enough, here came those green beautiful fan-shaped leaves on those trees. So those 6 trees are still very much now revered for their ability to withstand the bomb. I am old school enough. You can see this pot has mesh wire, 1/8 inch I think this is, and the wire tie downs. And I am old school enough that I like to put a layer of gravel into the bottom. All right, again, I'm old school enough to think that that a layer of gravel in the bottom is good. Soil is it's obviously critical, but there's been a lot of opinion as to what is good and what is not good. The new soil now is what's called boon mix. That is 1/3 pumice, 1/3 scoria, small volcanic stone, either usually red or black, and then 1/3 of what's called akadama, which all of you bonsai people listening to this will know. It's that Japanese, I guess it's it's these little clay nodules. The boon mix has led to me what I'm calling the buffoon mix, which is the one that I'm using now, which is roughly equal parts pumice, akadama, scoria, which I didn't like at first either. So I've changed my mind on this. I'm no longer old school on this. And then I've been using sphagnum moss torn up in the mix to try to get a little bit of organic. The organic material is what holds moisture. Okay, here's the buffoon mix in action. Yeah. You can see that it has it's got black scoria, pumice, akadama, which is this little clay stuff. Curious. Hard when it's dry, softens when it's wet, holds a lot of moisture, but not in a soggy, bad kind of way. I am going to add these earthworm castings, worm poop, to my mix here. The other thing is, folks, I'm going to try to put rocks in this thing. And there's a Japanese art called Saike. There's a great book on that too, Saike by Toshio Kawamoto. I'm going to use some of this rock. This is called dragon stone. So I'm going to try some of these rocks in there to give it even more of a primeval feeling. Usually have your dominant tree at the 1/3 mark, either forward or back, depending on whether you're trying to achieve distance perspective or up close perspective. So if you want distance perspective, why am I having trouble with that today? You put your big tree in front, smaller trees in back, the illusion of distance. If you want a close-up view of a forest, you'd put your big tree in the back and the smaller trees up front, so you'd have that sense of looking up into the forest at close range. And I'm going to try to make a forest that has two groups. A divided forest, as you might call it. In any group planning, normally you will have a dominant tree, the shingi, and I have one here. Let me grab up the first tree. Wow, okay. Numero uno. We're going to have to trim later and maybe do a little wiring here and there, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. All right, now let's place a rock here just for entertainment purposes. What I'm looking for here is to get this strata that this rock has in some sort of interesting perspective. And I don't want it to be flat. I think I want to get a little angle on it. All right, I have tree number 2 here. All right. Oh. They have these kind of curious fibrous roots that almost like, vegetable type roots like onions or something. All right, now, so this is a secondary tree. And it's got some pretty mean rootage. That rootage is no good, though. That might be, but we're probably going to get rid of that. It was buried up to its, really, what is its neighbori, so we're going to show that for a while. Number 2, so there we have that. Now we're going to go to number 3. Anything that's curving, I want it to curve outward. If it's growing inward, you get a little bit of a ingrown look. Come to daddy. All right. Beautiful roots in the body here, as you would call it. And it's got quite a little spread going here for it, considering it's just a piece of. So we're going to want to see that. One of the great mistakes that people make when they make group plantings is they don't get trees close enough together. And they will have even spacing. There's nothing that looks phonier than a forest that has even spacing of trees. And our Western mind, is so attracted to symmetry that, that we tend, you got 1, 2 over here, you got 2 over here, you got, they're 2 inches apart, these are 2 and 2 and 2. That's the kind of thing, we are concerned with symmetry in the Western mind, whereas the Eastern minds are concerned with balance. So what we are trying to achieve in bonsai design is asymmetric balance. And I'm going through the buffoon next like it was going out of style here. All right, how many we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus a few fidgets. Also, don't line your trees up. The theory or the practice is no more. You shouldn't be able to draw a line between any 3 trees. Oh, this is one I like very much. I wonder if I can get away with it back here in the back. So I'm working from the back right now, which is alien to my usual orientation. Hellos. My plants seem to really enjoy this sphagnum moss in the soil. I know Ryan, Neal, and some of these guys. When they're done planting, they'll sort of lay it across the top of the planting like bacon strips, on top of the finished planting. I thought, well, if you're going to do that, why not introduce it? Bare root. All right, I think this is quite a few trees in here. What do we say, Shannon? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right, there's 15 trees in here. This is a piece of bamboo. You can use a dowel too, although dowels don't last as long. You can get these knitting needles into huge sizes. So you can get all sizes. The bigger the number, the bigger the size. And this is old school too. The new guys tend to want to wedge it in a little more. But I'm a shaker, always have been, probably always will be. And now the trick is going to be to get this thing, all the soil shaken down into the roots and get it wet. If you want moss and you want to buy it, it's kind of a luxury. But if you want to buy moss, there's a woman, I think was in North Carolina, Moss and Annie, at Mountain Moss, and that woman is a genius, boy. She knows more about moss probably anybody. I buy a lot of this elfin thyme, I guess it's called. Real tiny leaf thyme. I sort of jokingly call it New Mexico moss. So let's see if I can get a few snags out of it. If you were going to try to get some greenery in here and you didn't have any moss, you could find some of this timeless mine. You can get it online, but we have a number of greenhouses in Albuquerque that grow this stuff up. So I think this is going to be the front. We're going to have to get in here and trim. I'll leave this at its height, probably, that it is the main tree. Then as we start getting down to these medium-sized trees, we're going to come down to buds. And so we get that kind of in ginkgo, you're looking for that sort of flame shape. You want everything to kind of grow as a flame, so you're not, if you get this kind of round shape with an apex, that's really what you want. Not round, but sort of like I said, a teardrop shape going up. So I think, folks, that's going to be the end of this goofiness for now. So that's it. Thank you and good night.